February 25th, 2025, 10:58 a.m. Eastern Time. For the record, this is Yahweh, Yahuwah, Earth Mission, day 13,476. Condition of the Earth, steadily deteriorating. As in the days of Noah, people are still married, being given away in marriage. Those who have no eyes to see and ears to hear still remain blind to me, as written. The angels are continuing to keep their eyes covered for my glory, not only for the safety of the children of earth, but very, very few and select chosen are able to see and to receive and to see these messages. So, we'll cover a few things today. So, a couple of just biblical reference points for things that will begin to transpire upon the earth. So, timing, as I've said, there is no slackness as in a ring. So, the days are coming, saith I Yahweh, when I will send famine on the land, and I will begin to pour out my indignation upon all the nations. And as also been written, myself as a pious God, have dominion over the world, but my land is Israel, and Israel's sister is America, the land in which I am on now. It's a lot of chessboard maneuvers that I'm doing right here in the last days, and there would be a lot of shame. There'll be a lot of shame anyway, but mainly for those that, when they see how many chess pieces were moved just to pull some people out of the flames, and even when some people are pulled from the flames, they want to have an argumentative nature about it. It'd be like, a Helen Keller situation, right? Deaf and blind. And then you've got, the fireman, right? He's picking you up, right? He's throwing you over his shoulder. Or if you're blind and you're deaf, that can be frightening, So if you're unaware that that place is an inferno, but you have little understanding about the fireman and how he's going to throw you over your shoulder and get you out of that house, a lot of times that could come abruptly, and it could be very sudden and in a carnal way. Mankind, is hardened as mankind wants to be, it's still very, very childlike in the manners in which their feelings kind of get hurt, So, which is why in these days I cannot be a respecter of persons, because if I did, I wouldn't get anything done. Arizona fruit juice, fruit punch. Other than tea and coffee and water, that's the only soft drink I like. It's not really a soft drink, but anyway. So as been written, and this is Amos 8, verse 12, people will stagger from sea to sea, from north even to the east. They will go to and fro to seek the word of Yahweh, but they will not find it. Right? And in that day the beautiful virgins and the young men will faint from thirst. As for those who swear by the guilt of Samaria, who say, as your God lives, O Dan, and as the way of Beersheba lives, they will fall and not rise up again. Now, Amos 9 is actually reserved for the 14th of March. Okay, this is the worm moon. So I, as the Lord, have already set in motion lots of my reserves, my power reserves. So I'm a big visual god, so I like to give people kind of a visual. If we were talking in a visual sense, well, I don't know why that's hard to see, but so that represents the earth and the power above. So, especially with human beings, when you guys are looking for something, it's like you guys are looking for something that would be equivalent to the same size as you, or something that could even be a witness to your technology. Well, your technology is substantially subpar. Thus also your understanding and your ability to perceive what is real, what is not, what is true, what is false. You're not able to see it. But everyone will be able to see the nations burn, and everyone will be able to witness the destruction of the earth. But even in these days that will soon come, the fornicators will still remain until they also die by the sword. And I have already stood beside my altar, and I did say, smite the capitals so that the thresholds will shake. I'm going to break them on the heads of all. And then I, the Lord Yahweh, will send forth men to slay them by the sword. There will not be one fugitive who will flee, or a refugee who will escape. Though they dig into Sheol, from there will my hand take them. And though they ascend to heaven, from there I will bring them down. Though they hide on the summit of Carmel, I will search them out and take them from there. And though they conceal themselves from my sight on the floor of the sea, from there I will command the serpent, and it will bite them. And though they go into captivity before their enemies, from there I will command the sword that it slay them. And I will set my eyes against them for evil and not for good. For I am the Lord God of hosts, Yahweh Yahuwah. I am the one who touches the land so that it melts, and all those who dwell in it mourn, and all of it rises up like the Nile, and subsides like the Nile of Egypt. I am the one who builds in the upper chambers in the heavens, and I have founded my vaulted dome over the earth. I am he who calls for the waters of the sea, and pours them out on the face of the earth. Yahweh is his name, Yahuwah. Are you not as the sons of Ethiopia to me, O sons of Israel? Declares I, Yahweh. Have I not brought up Israel from the land of Egypt, and the Philistines from Caphtor, and the Arameans from Kir? Behold, the eyes of Yahweh are on the sinful kingdom, and I will destroy it from the face of the earth. Nevertheless, I will not totally destroy the house of Jacob, for my name's sake. So, I'm not going to go too far into the teaching today, but update on the caterpillars. They're cocooning. They're gray. If you watch them long enough, you'll see them kind of shake. It's actually their nervous system beginning to prepare for a rewiring, which is what some of you are about to do. You're about to go into a cocoon, and you're about to be rewired. And when you come out, this world isn't going to make sense to you anymore. You're going to feel like an alien. if you could take a perspective I give you to heart and to just understand it for what it is, you're not going to be an alien. But I'm saying, when you go through your cocooning and you come out of it, you're going to have eyes that you've never had before. You're going to have ears that you've never had before. You're going to have a real heart of love, and that real heart of love is going to have symptoms that you've never had before. You will not take pleasure in anything of this world. Nothing will please you. I promise. Things like going to a movie will never cross your mind. Things like going shopping will be a burden. Things like working at a job for a promotion will seem fruitless and you won't want it. The only commodity you will look at worth a treasure will be time, because you will begin to see how those in heaven see. Because you'll no longer view the earth from a worm's position. All you who will be coming out of your cocoons. But all these things were necessary. And all these things that will happen after you awaken will also be necessary. What used to make you pursue things of material will bring you nothing but shame. And you will only feel fulfilled when you are working a purpose for me. And you will only feel fulfilled when you have an opportunity and a time to speak the truth. And with your new form, no longer a worm, you will have no fear. You will not fear man. Instead, you will pity men. You will pity women. You will pity those who dress up as whores of Egypt and of Babylon. You'll begin to pity the rich man, and you'll begin to weep for all those who are rich and who have lots, because with your new eyes and your new ears and your soul tethered in heaven, you will know. You won't have to ask me in prayer. You won't have to hit your knees to talk to me. You won't have to be fearful in the presence of me, Yahweh. Instead, you'll be a part of me and a part of our family in the heavenly abode. And much like a righteous father of the house, I am very strict with my sons, but my sons also acknowledge the wonders and the greatness of the existence and the life in which is provided to them. Unlike a strange boy who comes off the road and into the field, right? He'd be stopped by the sons to tell him, "Trespasser, get off my land, seek not refuge in my barns, seek not, your hungry stomach at my table." But when you have had your adoption official and you've been cocooned and then birthed out of that cocoon, there are 144,000 of you that are right now in a cocoon. And this cocoon is spiritual. Some of you I've seen confused. You don't know what to read. Oh, there went an earthquake. Sorry. So, there are a lot of you that are in that cocooning phase and everything's being turned upside down. You had a good job and maybe now you don't have it. You had all these things that you thought brought happiness and now they don't. And at some point you may feel very low, even to a point of not wanting to exist. Hold on. This is your cocoon phase. Because you understand, the whole world is deceived. That's a truth. And I swear by it. I swear by it by my own word, saith I, God, Yahweh, Elohim, Yahuwah. The whole world has been deceived. And if you've ever had a situation, of great deception, then you understand that learning the truth is a lot of times met with great resistance, hostility even. This is the reality of the way the world is right now. Nobody wants to accept truth. Nobody in their heart, genuinely. Mankind is in their heart, even the best of mankind in their heart. They do not want an almighty God to be real, because that means that they have to answer for all the sin that they've acquired. They're going to have to answer for all the iniquity that they've worked, big or small. They're going to have to answer for every lie they've ever told, everything they've ever stole, every wicked and evilness that's ran through their mind, their heart, their eyes, their mouth, and their ears will have to be accounted for. And once that person makes an internal 360, a rebirth coming out of that cocoon, you then will be, again, I'm a visual god, so I like to have visuals for you guys. So I don't know why it's blurry, but so the big circle, right, that says 99%, that's the most of the world. The 144,000 represent 1%, and they're going to be in that smaller sphere above the earth. That sphere is where your light body begins to overlay into your flesh body, which will give you a multi-plane ability. It's going to give you essentially an upgrade in your being, and that is to work purposes on the earth for the kingdom above, that you will have your official inheritance relinquished to you, and you will have your placement in the kingdoms. And when you're in the kingdoms, you serve me indirectly by working your purpose. But as a family, if we're a family making a meal, everyone's role is equally important. I'm the father. Let's say I'm cooking the beef in the skillet. The other son is cutting or grating the cheese for the tacos. The other son is cutting tomato. The other son is cutting some lettuce. The other one is putting in the shells. The other one is setting the table. Everyone has a role. The meat's no good without the cheese, is no good without the shells, is no good without a table to sit down and eat. So all these things work together. So the only time the powers, myself, the luminaries of the council, really come into play in any type of real hierarchy, which all of you, the 144, will also be a part of the heavenly courts. You guys will be spectators in all these things. In some instances, some of you will be called for witness. Some of you also may participate in mortal trials, those that have cases that are outstanding. So a lot of your experiences within the earth is actually going to be directly used in the realms. And instead of having to argue these cases with a mortal mind and a mortal heart of flesh, you'll be given essentially, you might refer to it as an enlightenment. But it's more than that, because just an enlightenment, like think of Buddha, right? Buddha was just an enlightened individual. He practiced and meditated so much that he was able to kind of shift his way of thinking. This is far beyond a difference of opinion or thinking. This is a literal transformation that gives you an ability to come upstairs, and you'll be able to witness the kingdoms, but you're also going to get your task list. Your task list is going to be custom and personal to you. The task lists are made between me, my angels, my luminaries, and the council, and then we divide it amongst the 144. So these are things that again will be coming for the 144. And thing is, you guys will be met with a lot of resistance, whenever you have that fearless spirit and you're able to, speak to not only the nations, but you're able to speak to churches, and that's another thing, mortal man, right? They're blind. Like just this morning, a roof from a church collapses. Unsaved, mortal man peddling the devil's lies and the doctrine of men and their own personal Jesus can't see that God Almighty, me Yahweh, am collapsing those roofs and flooding those churches and burning down everything in which I choose to. You 144, right? Once you guys have been birthed into your new phase, into your new existence, you're still going to be commingling with this one, but you're going to see it for the dead cell that it is. You're going to see the people of earth as sloppy, senseless, arrogant, greedy, little worker ants without a purpose. And you will be as disgusted, if not more disgusted than I. This is by design. Imagine if, those people, right? These business owners, these church business owners, what's the next thing out of their mouth, right? They're so oblivious. Like, oh yeah, we're just going to rebuild. Let's get a GoFundMe, Jesus flags all over the place. It's like, okay, right? They're blind, they're deaf, and they're dumb. Because I'm trying to give signs everywhere, but again, the impious, they will take my chastisement and reject my chastisement. They will reject the rod, and they will somehow, right? And this is, again, the doctrine of unlimited grace, the doctrine of Jesus, which I saw one of your Jesuses died. Sorry to hear that. But point is, you're going to be witnesses to these things. And your job, your purpose is you're going to have to get out ahead of some of the peril. And you're going to have to shout at them. And you're going to have to tell them. Tell them about me and my retribution. And tell them about my wrath that's coming for them. Because a wave is deadly, but my undertow is more deadly. Right? The smoke from the volcano can be deadly, but not more deadly than when it erupts. And all these things are signs to show those what's happening and for them to wake up. But imagine, right? The devil's spell is strong. And all those that have weak minds, all those that lust after things, right? So people that lust after concerts, they want to have this thing and that thing in this place and that place, and they want. They want anything of this world. That shows that their understanding of things in which the time in which they're in, like all these things, that age is up, right? The golden age of man worship and man making his empires and making man's names known are over. And I'm back. And some of you 144,000 that may not have been righteous, right? Some of you may even be on the wrong side of me right now, but you were predetermined. Some have destiny, right? My tablets of destiny tell me these things. And a lot of times before your transition, a lot of my railing was actually like a surgery prep, trying to make your transition easier. And for some that may not be able to make their transition, they'll die, and then they'll be taken up by another. And what does that mean? So again, in layers, if we're talking spiritually speaking, there's going to be 144 reborn agents of heaven, sons of Yahweh. Your soul and your spirit was crafted by my hands in the heavenly abode and set before the foundations of the world for this time, the end times, to come into blossom this spring. And you, 144,000, are also amongst the 12 tribes, right? And when you emerge, right, you're going to emerge with a quickening. And it's going to be like looking at the world with a new set of eyes. The same tree you looked at will no longer look like just a tree. But meanwhile, what you used to marvel at, like say you were looking at one of man's accomplishments, the Statue of Liberty, the big city skyscrapers, like all these bridges, like whatever, anything man's created out of their own pride of themselves, right? The pride of their hands. These reborn spirits, from me, you guys will look at that in disgust. You won't be able to even tolerate it because of your new eyes. Your new eyes are going to show you things that are going to upset you, but you're going to be able to see without effort into the realms, into the kingdom. You're going to be able to leave your body, which is also what's going to make you fearless. And you're going to know that you get to keep that into the next age. And all you have to do is be loyal to me. Be loyal to the kingdom of heaven. That's all that's asked of you. And you'll be like those butterflies that instead of my 7 in my jar, there's going to be 144,000 of you. And you guys are going to have, for the first time in your existence, your carnal existence, you're going to have a purpose from me. You're going to know me. You're going to be comfortable with my spirit. The spirit that once used to haunt mankind because of fear. That, little child in a corner, fear, that mortal flesh that most of the world operates in and on and will continue until their death. You 144,000 will not have that anymore. You will be assured of your eternal life, and you will fight any which way, because you know that this place is only a cup. And you know, when you can see how you're going to see, you will understand for the first time all things in which I've said, things that I've said that used to confuse you. You will now be able to go back and read or listen to anything I've said, and you will be able to catch up into the conversation. You're going to be able to have those wings. Now here's a tip. For those of you who haven't done that, haven't taken the time to read my word, you haven't taken the time to watch my videos, you haven't taken the time to, put in the work I've been telling you to do, and instead you've been writing your own services, reading your own passages, following Jesus, waiting on Jesus, praying for the Pope, praying for Donald Trump. Like, all you people are not going to be the 144,000. Sorry, you're shit out of luck. The 144,000 will be sealed with my name in them. What's my name? Yahweh, right? The real Yahweh, the original, the OG, original God, the architect. That's kind of, in some ways, I think about this. If I were to start the new chapter and just stick with the architect of existence, the architect of worlds, the architects of reality, right? That is me. And my 144,000 will not labor in the fields. They will not toil, but they will do it smiling. They will do it with purpose. They will do it without fear. They will do it with my name in their mouth. And they will do it with confidence so fierce that what used to be some mongreled, flea-ridden, wife-cheating pastor who used to intimidate you will become nothing but a flea, and you will stomp them. You will stomp them all. By your very words, will you ask for fire from me from heaven, and I shall give it to you. When you ask of me to set a high man low, I will not hesitate to set him low. When you ask of me to give you proofs, when you are speaking the living word, which is I'll give it to you. And you will also be amplified. You'll be a true angel in a flesh body. But that soul, that spirit that I've created for you is nothing like you can imagine. It is nothing like you could even try to fathom. It's a very important time. Because I've tried to pull those into the fold, some of them. And like I said, some of them reject, and they'll probably die in their transition, but that's okay, because my numbers will not dwindle. The 144,000 number, if you look at it in a way of, let's say I have 250,000 cocooning right now. I know I'm going to lose 1,000 here, 20,000 here. I'm going to lose people because they're not going to make it out of their cocoon. Their sins were too high to be compatible. Their stubbornness was too high to agree to a purpose. Their false heart and mind and obsessed with idolatry. See, idolatry is a sickness. So it'd be like, It'd be like the Jesus camp, right? If you're poisonous and you're idolatrous, it's the equivalent of having a smoke shop, a cigarette shop in the lobby of a hospital. Like, the hospital isn't gonna want like a smoke shop in the place, right? Like, they're treating people there for, you know, let's say lung cancer, and they don't want to be contributing directly, right, to the problem. But it doesn't mean that they wouldn't accept, you know, a 50-year smoker who had lung cancer. It just means that they're not going to be supporting the very habits in which gets people sick. And see, that's what I mean, right? When I'm railing against Jesus or Jesus or whatever, it's because you're falling deeper into a sickness. And again, right, you're convinced wrongly. And that's just like arguing, right, with a teenager. You know, my daughter's doing the teenage thing right now. And, you know, she's not heaven born, right? She's an earthly adopted, you know, seed of Ephraim. But she's not my biological daughter either, right? She's adopted. But my point is, you know, I use her as a bit of a gauge, you know, because, like, poor thing, right? She's human growing up in an inhuman house, so she struggles with a lot of things to begin with. But but the thing is, you know, she is never short of an excuse on why she, you know, didn't do dish duty, didn't keep her room clean, didn't brush her teeth, didn't study for her SATs, you know. And that's what I mean, right? There's an endless amount of excuses. And when you're a parent, at least a good one, you know the excuses. You know that, you know, they're all bullshit. And you know, as a parent, like, the teenager's just taking the long way around, because it's like the parent is only standing there arguing with the teenager, hoping that the parent doesn't have to reach around there and give him a smack on the butt, right? And maybe not smacking your teenagers on the butt, but I mean, you know, punishment, right? Grounding, whatever it may be. I'm just trying to say that we're about to cross another milestone. And when we do, it's going to become very, very, very apparent to the elect, the chosen, and then the 144 will be seen. Like, they're going to be troublemakers from heaven. Say that. And again, we're talking real angel stuff here. Like, not aliens. Sorry to burst your alien agenda, guys. But the spiritual powers in heaven, you know, way more powerful than any carnal alien being could ever be. And that's the truth. You know? Because if you looked at the entire known cosmos, and you could see it from how I see it, it looks almost like a giant motherboard, like a big circuit board. And humans, your existence dwells within the eye of the camera, right? Or the light of the film reel. My angels and my 144,000, you guys will be able to sit up with me while we're looking at the film reel play out. And then I'll show you, I'll say, Angel, you see this? Do you see this pastor and what he's doing? Do you see this teacher and what he's doing? Do you see this nation and what they're doing? Do you see this people group and what they're doing? Do you see these false people who make false images of me? Do you see all those who use my name but refuse my person? Do you see all those who care more about what man has written and or said than the Elohim of Elohims, the King of the gods, the God of the gods, the maker of gods and men? And the angels in my 144 will see it and witness it for themselves, with the heart I've built them, with the spirit that I've built them, with the wings that I've built them. And they will come to every place among the earth, and what weak mortal men have tried to do in the true commission and have failed. You have failed because you have spread the wrong message, the false name, and the fake church. You have built the foundation of Rome, but what no one realized was everything that you've built was on me. Every single thing, every shoe that imprints itself on my planet, every design that mankind has made and erected in his honor, I will destroy it. And my 144,000 will be ahead of me to prime it. In military campaigns, usually 24 to 48 hours before an invasion begins, they send out flyers. They'll send them out by airdrop usually. And they'll send out stacks of thousands. And they'll just send them out the back of planes. What it's for any citizen to pick up and go, oh, it says we have to leave the area within 24 to 48 hours because there's about to be a military convoy entering this area, and it's going to be hazardous. And it's going to tell you, we're targeting demon seed of Cain, sons of Anakim, and all those who refuse the true name of God, of me, of Elohim, Yahweh, Yahuwah. And why, right? Let's imagine I'm the largest employer in the galaxy. And this particular unit called Earth has all inadvertently quit and wanted to, go hang out in the bathroom, talk crap, smoke cigarettes, do drugs, have illicit sex, nastiness. And now it's time to start checking IDs and start figuring out, well, who's still employed and who's going to carry on versus those who are going to be fired, right? Most people are going to be fired because they've hung out in the bathroom smoking cigarettes and watching Captain Kangaroo for so long that they think that is their purpose. Silly man. Silly mankind, you guys. Guys, I'm telling you. There's not a storm coming. Unending storms are coming. Incomprehensible peril is coming. But with that, see, all things have a left to it and a right to it. A balance. And as things progress, right, I'm not able to take out everything I desire until I have all that in which I desire. So, I'm gonna take quick 5.
Dream any dream you wanted to dream.
So,
And you would naturally, as you began on this adventure of dreams, you would fulfill all your wishes.
Some of the things right now.
You would have every kind of pleasure.
I wouldn't even call it the calm before the storm.
But now let's have a surprise. Let's have a dream which is nothing.
It's the calm before the end.
Well, somebody's going to have to read about it.
You know.
Then you would get more and more adventures, and you would make further and further out gambles as to what you would dream. Finally, you would dream where you are.
But you know, one of the things that irk me is when I see one of mine like doing well in private and they're doing well in prayers and I'm hearing them. One of the things that feels like it undoes all the work that I feel like all the progress I've made with these people. I mean, there's someone in mind exactly that I'm thinking of. No, it's not Jack. I'm done. Another one. But this person does so good when they're alone. But this person is also up in the top echelons of society. And they have a lot of big, powerful friends, right, that like to be a talking head on a TV or a talking head on a computer, whatever. And the thing is, my good ones, right, that do good in private and alone, when they're around these other ones, these other children of earth, you know, they're impious, right? They use the name Jesus because they're unlearned, they're unknowing, or worse, they don't care. And they talk about things like the rapture, and then they take one or two statements and try and dissect it and meditate on it. But guess what they're doing? Here's a key for you 144,000. You may have heard this term, the new song of Moses. The 144,000 are going to know it because it's going to be written on your heart, like an old Victrola reel, that when you put it on there, it's not subjected to change because it is a metal tube with almost looks like braille. And as it turns, it plays like a little mini piano, and it comes through the Victrola, which is the old school like phonograph. But you know, those high up people, you know, they'll speak comfortably about fake names and idols as if it was real. And they're also too comfortable speaking about the word of me without me. That's a high treason. That's an answer only in death. And all of you will get to sit back and watch the 144,000 who are going to be a very colorful individuals that make up this group. They are going to be ferocious against all those who carry the fake name in their mouth. But as I've said before, mankind is a species. The buffalo eat in herds. You know, if you needed to take out a few thousand heads of buffalo, it actually isn't hard, right? Because they're all grazing in the same valley. If you need to take out 1,000 mountain goats, it's not hard to do that because they're all gathered on the mountain. And see, mankind, you're not the wiser, right? Just like the mountain goat can't stop to understand why he's a mountain goat. He just does mountain goat things. It's like the bison in the plains. The bison can't sit there and rationalize why he's in the plain with 2,000 other bison. But hopefully, if a human's not too idiotic, they can understand the reason why. I, God, see humans the same way. The rich gather there, you're damned. The sinful gather there, they're damned. But the tricky ones are the ones that are on my list to be rebirthed and saved for me, but because of man worship and glory and numbers and popularity, and unfortunately they made way too many connections in this world with carnal man, especially these big Bible preachers, right? You know, especially if you had the last name Con. Like, what would you think they're trying to con you out of? But anyway, how's that beard looking today? That's not too bad, actually. You know, my beard's actually really long and really curly, but it gets in the way down here. Anyway, that wasn't what I was trying to say. But you know, it's sad, right? Because if I would have kept some individuals in solitude and not let them taste just a drop of success or a drop of fame or popularity or driven them numbers up or they became rich or all these things. See, every time a human being passes a threshold with 100%, you all go off the rails and away from me. It don't matter. Like, be damned. You will assimilate to impious man. Like, that's what you all do. It's a sin. But, you know, again, you're defiling purposes that I've set for you. So, you know, like I said, you know, I've got so many of your faces in my mind. I can see your births. I can see your tribulations, not big tribulation that's coming around the corner, but your own. You know, your struggles, your wins, when you've called out, and when you didn't. And I see those that when certain people come around them, they change. Which is why I've told several of you that still backtalk me, you blaspheme my name, or hell, you don't even know my name. You avoid my name. You guys talk about Jesus, you know. But I just want to say for the record, as much effort as I've put in here in the last days, 12,476 days to be exact, I will not go home feeling like a tyrant. I will not go home feeling like I was lax in anything, because I wasn't. I will not go home with any defeat, because I've genuinely tried. I've tried in the microcosm dealing with individuals directly that had an opportunity to influence not thousands but hundreds of thousands and even millions, and they refused. Because if they did that, well, part of faith is believing, but also that hot coal of truth is supposed to sear faith in you, not scare you away. But I see these people that if they would have been cut off from the world until they're cocooning, they would have made it. But because they got followers, because they got fame, they got money, they got popularity, they got TV shows, they got YouTube channels of, you know, all these people, like, it's blinded them. And like I said, you know, they'll allow people on their own TV shows to talk about Jesus and things that don't matter, aren't true, and they're directly from the devil's mouth. And so like will follow like. You guys that had a 144 spot, you lost it. I gave it to somebody else. And it's going to be sad that I'm going to have to witness a lot of you perishing, needlessly. Like, if you had to perish, I would have rather you have perished with the true name in your mouth, with the conviction of me in your heart. That way, when I go back and I put into the tape reels and I go, angels, pull up every mortal that had my name in their mouth and then in their mind. And when the query comes up and it shows, here, Master, Majesty, there was 1,323 people that knew the name Yahweh. Okay, angel, query me all those that prayed to my name, to these names, these sets of names, and it comes back and queries me, right? And then I say, angel, show me their deeds, show me their repentance, show me all these things, right? And then vice versa. When I go, okay, angel, show me all those moments that people had the name Jesus in their mouth, but show me all those times that they were taught the true name and refused it. Show me all those moments in their mind's eye and their histories that they rebuked truth. They pursued man. They pursued mankind's worship. They pursued mankind's love for all things material. Like, that's what I mean, is if you're talking a computerized type of program, like, it's not really hard to make these decisions. And it's kind of bad news, for a lot of folks. Because there's not a whole lot I can do with you at that point. There just doesn't. No, there really isn't. But I do have the scrolls ready. What I'm doing is I am trying to just absorb every ounce of the natural world as I can right now. Almost like my own moment of silence. And these things are all too real. In some ways I almost wish it wasn't. But not really. Because everything is wrong. The only thing right anymore is heaven. It's the realms. I could share stories for days about the realms, but I remember I was going to meet a particular being in the realms, and there was this new, I don't even want to call it a church because it's not a church, but it's like a temple complex hideaway thing. Really clever, really cool. Like think Gardens of Alexandria. Like really, really cool. I get excited about those things. Like some of the creations that some of my angels or even other pious gods do. Like that's our pastime. Is he was showing me this Garden of Alexandria, but on steroids. And I mean, like even for us gods as being as big as we are, like he put into the growth genome these leaves that are the size of like Cadillacs. Like these leaves and vines are mega big enough for us to sit on them and like legit like sit on these big leaves and have a cup of coffee overlooking multi-layered waterfalls within these floating lakes, which is something, you know, the 144, you guys will get to check out the floating lakes too. But so we're sitting on this leaf, below is, you know, this just traversing of waterfalls, and then you got these massive like growths, these beautiful vines that are flowering. I mean, flowers, blooms like this big, like just massive blooms. You know, overlooking the floating lakes and the reversed rivers. Those are cool too. You know, but this is gonna be kind of a long video because I haven't even really rounded into the point I'm trying to make. But at the end of the day, these are all gonna go into the heavenly library. You know. So kind of like Ashurbanipal's library, you know, and Pious Man. Like as soon as, you know, I'm not going to go on a rant, but...
Do another round of...
Alright, we're back. Brief disruption, but, you know, we are a working family, so things come up. And much like you guys too. You know, as I've said many times before, you know, I still have carnal things and a family to care for, but after all things are said and done, right? And I've established my kingdom here on earth, in every one of my temples, which there shall be 70 of them, one in every nation, there shall be an eternal flame, and that flame will never go out. It'll be tended to by those who operate in my church. And that tending of the flame that'll never go out will also be attached to a wick of time. That wick of time will be essentially a measure it'll be a measuring of time. And that measuring of time will give each temple its surety of knowing when I will come back to visit. And that is also to keep it in the high mind of future mankind that when I come back each time to check on things, how important it is to make sure that people are in purpose, they know their maker, they know their creator, they know the reason why they're here, and they know the path from here and out. And those who tend that eternal flame will be held responsible for keeping that, you know. So in your way, think of your high priest, right? Your high priest's job is to make sure that the line is being towed around the world. And instead of every time I show up, it's this like pulling teeth getting people to see and hear and understand, and it's like constantly visiting a fresh crop of kindergartners. Instead, it'll be a beautiful symphony of my arrival. It'll be an epic time for humanity. And just for the record, because I know, like, again, if a Christian were to hear this, they would take what I just said and said, "Oh, the king's coming, the king's coming." I'm already here, you buffoon. I'm saying the next time, right after I've put the kingdom down, I've put New Jerusalem down, after I've set up my nations, after I've set up my kingdom, after I've installed the people that I wish to move forward with controlling the earth's state of affairs. But until I have put the entire world under my foot, and until the only things standing are those places which are dedicated to me, I'm it. I'm the chief executive officer, whatever it's called. Not even. But my point is, in the future, it'll be, we know the king, we know his name now, we know what he looks like, we know what he sounds like, we know how pissed off he can get, but we also know how loving he can be. We know that he's justice, he's righteous, he's true, he's all those things that the prophets written about. He's all those things that the angels spoke about. And his word never returns to him unfulfilled. And thus, when I arrive, to revisit the new earth in the future, it'll be a time of feasts and gatherings, a time for celebrating the wins and the milestones, a time for me, your God, to celebrate you and your accomplishments that you've done the right way. It'll be a time that'll be looked forward to. It'll be a time of true prosperity, a fair balance between man's spiritual side and man's carnal side. It'll be a beautiful path carved like the river is to the mountain. And I'll finally get to look upon it and say it's good. But right now it's not good. It's not even a shade of good. But it remains for now. So until then, we will catch you on the next one.